is the World Report, your compass to African news and the world beyond. I'm Fatia Mohammed Noor. In the headlines, Niger's junta revokes military agreement with the United States. 16 soldiers killed in southern Nigeria during fighting between communities. Internet outage in most parts of Africa. Somali president holds security talks with Eritrean leader. And tensions high after Pakistan launches cross-border attacks into Afghanistan. Also on Election Pulse this week, we focus on the West African nation of Senegal. Welcome to the program. Now, Niger's junta has ended a military agreement that allowed U.S. personnel in the country. This announcement comes when a delegation from Washington had been in Niamey for talks with the country's military leadership. According to a national TV statement, Niger's military spokesperson Colonel Amadou Abdramane, and I quote, "The U.S. presence on the territory of the Republic of Niger is illegal and violates all the constitutional and democratic rules which will require the sovereign people to be consulted on the installation of a foreign army on its territory." He also alleged that the U.S. delegation had accused Niger of making a secret deal to supply uranium to Iran. Colonel Abdramane described the accusation as cynical and reminiscent of the Second Iraq War. He continues to say that the government of Niger therefore strongly denounces the condescending attitude combined with the threat of reprisals by the head of the American delegation against the government and the people of Niger. It is said to be at least 650 U.S. personnel in Niger. At least 16 people have been killed, including 4 police officers in southern Nigeria while responding to a distress call between 2 fighting communities. The attack in the Bomadi Council area, when the soldiers deployed to keep the peace, was surrounded by some community youths and killed. This is according to Defense Headquarters spokesman Brigadier General Tukur Gisau. The attack led to the death of the commanding officer, 2 majors, 1 captain and 12 soldiers, with a few arrests being made related to the attack, which is now being investigated by the military. According to local media, the conflict in Delta was related to a lingering land dispute between the Okwama and Okoloba communities, which resulted in the abduction of 1 man. The soldiers had unsuccessfully tried to negotiate his freedom. Now, widespread internet outages were reported last week in various parts of Africa, including South Africa, Liberia, Benin, Ghana, and Burkina Faso. Since then, services have largely been restored in Liberia and South Africa. The cause of the cable failures was not immediately clear, to the frustrations of millions of customers around the continent. The Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), which regulates the telecoms industry, said the outage was caused by damage to international undersea cables running along the West African coastline. Whatever the cause, it has resulted in major difficulties for people who rely on the internet for a living. Internet connectivity in the Ivory Coast was down to around just 4% on Thursday morning, according to NetBlocks, which tracks cybersecurity and internet connectivity. Liberia at one point dropped to 17%, while Benin was at 14% and Ghana 25%. In South Africa, Vodacom on Thursday said that the customers were experiencing intermittent connectivity issues due to multiple undersea cable failures. A fault was also reported on the main one cable system, which serves Nigeria's commercial hub, Lagos. The Liberian government confirmed on Thursday that internet disruption had been reported from that morning. Citizens were unable to access the basic internet as well as social media across the vast majority of the country. International bank transfers were also reported to be affected, while there were limited international voice calls. The Liberia Telecommunications Authority said it was caused by an incident involving the Africa Coast to Europe ACE submarine communications cable in Ivory Coast. In Ghana, the National Communications Authority (NCA) reported that multiple undersea cable disruptions were responsible for the outage. To diplomacy now, where Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki met with visiting Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud to discuss bilateral talks in Asmara, Eritrea's capital. According to the social media page X of Eritrean Information Minister Yemane Meskel, The two leaders discussed regional issues, including Somalia's fight against militants. This was President Sheikh Mohamud's second visit to Eritrea this year and the sixth since he came to power in May 2022, highlighting the strong relations between the two countries. President Mohamud last visited Asmara in January amid tension with the neighboring Ethiopia over a port deal between Addis Ababa and the self-declared Republic of Somaliland. The deal is contested by the Somali government. Eritrea has been training thousands of Somali soldiers to boost the Somali army as African Union troops are expected to withdraw from the Horn of Africa country at the end of this year. The tensions are high after Pakistan launched air attacks inside Afghanistan, while the Taliban claimed hours later to have fired across the border. Tensions flared on Monday between Islamabad and Kabul following the overnight raids. Pakistan said the attack had targeted armed groups hiding out in border regions. According to the Taliban, 8 women and children were killed. The Afghan Defense Ministry claimed later on Monday to have fired across the border at Pakistan positions. Islamabad has not yet commented on the claim. Pakistani military and foreign ministry sources confirmed to Qatar-based channel Al Jazeera that the retaliatory attacks had targeted the hideouts of the commanders of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or Pakistan Taliban, due to terrorist activities being sponsored and conducted from across border. In a statement issued on X, government spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid said the individual Pakistan claimed to have targeted continues to live in Pakistan. Tension has risen between Pakistan and Afghanistan since the Taliban government seized power in 2021. On Election Pulse this week, we focus on Senegal. The West African nation will be going into elections on March 24th. This follows delays of widespread protests in the country. There are 19 candidates vying for the presidential position, and no clear frontrunner has emerged to succeed outgoing President Macky Sall. For the first time in Senegalese history, the incumbent is not in the running. Prominent candidates include former Prime Minister Amadou Ba, the hand-picked flag-bearer for the ruling Benno Bokk Yakaar coalition. He served as Prime Minister of Senegal from 17 September 2022 to 6 March 2024. He also served as Foreign Minister from 2019 to 2020 and was also the Minister of Finance and Economy from 2013 to 2019. The next contender is Khalifa Sall. He is a former minister and mayor of the capital, Dakar. The only woman candidate is Anta Babakar Ngom, the head of Sedima, one of the country's biggest food companies. Bassirou Diomaye is another contestant. He is a tax inspector and was recently released from prison together with the fiery opposition leader Ousmane Sonko. Despite spending months in prison, Mr. Faye is seen as one of the favorites in this month's election. He was detained without trial last April on charges including inciting insurrection. Ousmane Sonko has been one of President Sall's fiercest critics. He was jailed for 2 years last July on what he described as trumped-up charges aimed at barring him from running for president. He came in third in the 2019 presidential election with 15% of the vote. His PASTEF party, founded in 2014, was dissolved by the government of allegations that Mr. Sonko and the party had called for an insurrection. Senegal was originally scheduled to hold elections on February 25th, but the poll was postponed to 24th March after a court ruling barred President Sall from pushing it to December. President Sall is standing down after serving for 2 terms. On the big story this week, I sit down with the Iranian ambassador to Kenya, Ali Golampur, to discuss Kenya-Iranian relations.
As regarding to your question on the relations between Iran and Kenya, so we have long history of bilateral relations, political and official relations with the Republic of Kenya, and we are very much proud of it. And now, after decades of relations, we have very good relations, friendly, brotherhood, and the levels of relation in different aspects are very much commendable. And however, it is not the level that we are expecting. It doesn't satisfy the requirements and the needs of nowadays of the 2 countries. The thing is that we are working hard to bring it to lift it up, the level of relations to a desired level. Of course, expanding the relations in all areas and potentials, but most specifically with regard to economic cooperation in terms of economic trade and investment and those areas. And within this program and agenda, we do have special programs for bringing or strengthening the people-to-people relations and also government-to-government relations. That is very important for us. And our president had a State House visit, an official visit to the Republic of Kenya, and in that visit, they had bilateral meetings with His Excellency President Ruto. And the leaders of the two countries discussed them and agreed upon bring the levels of the relations between two countries at least to its maximum possible. And our president also wished it brings it to the tenfolds of the level. So you see, that's the task and the duty for us here. And we now are working hard for that purpose, to make it visible and fruitful and resultful. The agenda and the list of the relations, the areas that we need to work and to focus on are a variety of issues. But most specifically on trade and economic cooperation, the good news is that we have arranged, hopefully in the coming weeks, to convene the joint cooperation committee meeting or commission meeting between two countries, and it will be held in Nairobi. It's the 7th round of the commission. On top of that, we have also a plan of visiting the highest level possible between the authorities of the two countries, especially the visit by His Excellency President Ruto to Iran. We are working on that. And already the invitation has been sent to His Excellency President of Republic of Kenya, and we are waiting to fix the time. We have many projects, some of them agreed, some of them under the implementation or its implementing phase. Some are still need to get into implementation phase. We have a center, a house of technological and innovation house of Iranian House of Technology and Innovation, IHIT, centered in Nairobi. And so that's the one of the areas that we are seriously and hardly working to that end. Bringing all the startups, all the innovation sectors to Kenya, and through that, and through a channel of working through South-South cooperation, transfer the knowledge, transfer the experience, and also transfer the technology from our side with our good brothers and sisters and all the government and peoples of the Kenya. So this is the project. But we have at the same time other projects in terms of trading between two countries. Nowadays we have already started meat transfer and export from fresh meat from Kenya to Iran. So, and traditionally we are one of the biggest partners in trading partners for importing tea and coffee from Kenya. But we want not to be limited to agriculture sector. We want to go beyond that, to go to the industry, go to the, let's say, to the innovation and science research and all those areas. The majority of the two nations are young and youth generation. So this is a necessity. We have to plan and work for bringing them together. We had last year an experience of export football match. But of course, it was a friendly match, but we had that experience, which was very, influential in the minds and the hearts of the young people in Iran. And I do believe, and I'm confident that it has had same effect in Kenya. So the sports matches and programs in terms of training or all other areas of cooperation for that purpose. It's one of the agendas that we are following, and also for the university cooperations, including lecturers exchanges, and also extending the scholarship to those who are volunteer from Kenyan universities, the young talented guys to apply and to be admitted, hopefully in the Iranian universities. And for the research programs, we have offered the idea to the authorities. I had very recently a meeting with His Excellency, the CS for Education in Kenya, and we discussed this issue, how we can bring the universities closer together to bring the level of cooperation at the higher and at a better situation. So that's also another area that the young people, especially women, can be engaged and involved. And for women also, we can arrange for again, visits in terms of official visits for sport programs or arts program, music, poems, all other, and also for the cinema industry and cinema section. In Iran, you know, we have very strong cinema and also artists, and that sector is very, very active. Both nations have long historical civilization, and also Iranians had contributed to parts of Kenya, especially the coastline, in terms of cultural influence. And now today you see here the table of Haftzin, which is very symbolic and traditional for Iranians. Many other countries were celebrating this. This is one example of how we can, bring contact between the two nations. But it's not enough. We need to work, and for people to people, we have to work for the facilities and infrastructures to be provided in order to make easier the travels between the two countries and contacts. His Excellency, in his message, just highlighted few important issues. And one was that despite the fact that we have the message of Nowruz for peace and friendship and living in coexistence with nature, with each other, unfortunately, we experienced this year the most bitter event, which was Gaza and Palestine issue. And this is also my wish, and all Iranian, and all Muslims, and all people around the world nowadays, even EU and US themselves they are recognizing this very important thing, that it should be stopped somewhere, and peace and prosperity to be back to the people of Palestine and Gaza.
Still in Iran, let's talk about Nowruz. Nowruz, meaning new day, marking the first day of spring, and is celebrated on the day of the astronomical vernal equinox, which occurs usually on 21st March. It is celebrated at the beginning of the new year by more than 300 million people around the world. Nowruz is an ancestral festivity marking the first day of spring and the renewal of nature. It promotes values of peace and solidarity between generations and within families, as well as reconciliation and neighborliness, thus contributing to cultural diversity and friendship among people and different communities.
One of the most traditions that's symbolizing this Nowruz, this occasion, is the table that we call it Haftzin, which composed of 7 S letters in the beginning. And it's, has how you call it, oscillators? It's something like that, yeah. And then we have sumac, we have garlic, we have samanu, and we have seke, we have apple and green, These are the main elements of Haft scene, and each of them symbolize one message, one important meaning. It signifies the love and affection. Garland symbolizes the good health. Apple signifies the beauty and health. This Samanu.
Sources of life. Nowruz was inscribed in 2016 on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. An important tradition is practiced during this time. It is a gathering around the table decorated with objects that symbolize purity, brightness, livelihood, and wealth to enjoy a special meal with loved ones. Gifts are exchanged, especially for children, featuring objects made by artisans. There are also street performances of music and dance, public rituals involving water and fire, traditional sports, and the making of the handicrafts. On that note, we wrap up the World Report this week. Remember, if you have any comments or queries, you can reach me on my social media handle @Noor Fatia. Thank you for watching.